What's going on, y'all? It's me, Heir the Animal, and yeah, we back with more If stories. And I know you read the title already, but we about to hop in this one because this is the Rem If, not just ReZero If, Rem. All about her, Sloth. This is the Sloth If story, by the way. And it's part one. I think it's 4 parts. It's the longest one out of all the If stories, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it's mostly about Rem. And honestly, I really like Rem. She is like my favorite, one of my favorite ladies in the show. I think she had like a lot of the most she had a lot of character development just in a short time that she's kind of like been really able to do stuff. I wish she was awake. So wake up! I'm tired of this. But otherwise, yeah, bruh. We're just gonna hop into this bad boy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of subtitles. I don't need them. I don't need them right now.
What if Subaru never said the words, "I love Emilia"? What if he chose Rem instead and ran away with her, leaving everything else behind? In the Sloth If story, Rem and Subaru run away together and live happily ever after. But in order to achieve this happy ending, Subaru had to sacrifice everyone else. Throughout the story of ReZero, Subaru is repeatedly tested, often being forced to choose between a specific sin and a specific virtue.
I'm not gonna lie, this is the one I wanted to see the most.
Subaru faces the dilemma of sloth versus diligence. As we saw, Subaru ends up choosing diligence in the end and actually faces his problems instead of hiding from them.
Yeah,
in the Sloth If, this doesn't happen. Subaru chooses the easy way out and runs away with Rem, abandoning everyone he was supposed to save. The Sloth If story is much longer than all the others combined, so I'm gonna have to split it up into multiple parts. This video will cover the prologue as well as the first 2 chapters of the Rem If prequel. Now, I know the prequel was written after the original Rem If, but it's arguably more interesting, and I think it's best we start chronologically anyway. So without further ado, this is the Rem If prequel, the beginning of the ReZero Sloth If story.
Okay. That's a lot for just an If story, you know what I'm saying?
Rem and Subaru are huddled up together, sharing a blanket inside a carriage. Rem's wide awake, but Subaru is currently asleep in the middle of a horrible nightmare. In his sleep, he starts mumbling out loud about his feelings of shame and self-hatred to the point that it starts to disturb the other passengers. Remember, because Rem agreed to run away with Subaru, episode 18 didn't happen the way we remember it. Subaru's mental conflict remains unresolved, so he's still suffering from self-loathing, depression, and now guilt as well. One of the other passengers in the carriage seemed to be genuinely concerned for the sleeping Subaru. He hands Rem a piece of paper and tells her to bring it to someone named Hannibal. Rem accepts the paper, and then there's a big time skip. Chapter 1. 2 months.
Very short prologue.
It's officially been over a year since Subaru was transported to the ReZero world, and he's now living in Kararagi, the kingdom west of Lagunica. Subaru's had to move around several times, but he finally settled in a town called Banan. In many ways, Kararagi was oddly similar to Japan, almost too similar. Kararagian residents eat with chopsticks and wear traditional Japanese clothing. Kararagi's buildings resemble early Japanese architecture, and the Kararagi accent sounds exactly like the Kansai dialect. So somehow, Japanese culture had infiltrated its way into Kararagi.
Is that where they were in the last season?
I personally don't think so, and neither does Subaru. There is definitely something strange going on in Kararagi, so if any of my subscribers have a theory about this, I would like to read it if you want to leave a comment. Anyway,
where the city flooded, all that good stuff.
Now share an apartment in Kararagi as husband and wife. Yes, Natsuki Rem was even more beautiful now than she was in the past. Instead of a maid outfit, she wears a blue kimono that matches the color of her hair, which is actually a lot longer now. Rem works as an elementary school teacher, and Subaru is currently unemployed, searching desperately for a job. Rem doesn't earn a lot of money as a teacher, so Subaru feels guilty for making her support the both of them.
I love how that's a thing.
Their next-door neighbor is a shabby-looking wolf human named Hannibal. If you saw my Wrath video or you read the story, you're probably familiar with Hannibal already. But for those of you who don't know, Hannibal is one of the strongest characters in ReZero. Think of him as the ultimate ninja. He's pretty well known throughout Kararagi, but at this point in the story, Subaru thinks he's just a normal guy. Hannibal often makes fun of Subaru for being unemployed and teases him, and their relationship is kinda similar to that of Subaru and Julius, at least in the sense that Subaru acts like he hates Hannibal, but deep down, we all know how he really feels. Anyway, Hannibal's gonna be an important character later, but as of right now, Subaru's #1 concern is finding a steady source of income. So he heads on down to the town's employment office and he checks the quest board for a suitable job. One of the job offers looks pretty interesting. Investigate Zarestia's bed, it says. Subaru tries to accept the quest, but apparently he's too late. Someone else is already doing it. Now, Subaru didn't know this at the time, but Zarestia's bed is a location in Kararagi where the great spirit Zarestia resides. It's known to be an extremely dangerous area surrounded by deadly wind that kills anyone who tries to enter. The great spirit Zarestia has been around longer than the dragon, which also means they were able to survive the Great Calamity 400 years ago. But all this information about Zarestia is pretty much public knowledge in Kararagi, but again, Subaru had no idea at the time.
Damn,
anyway, Subaru ends up accepting a completely different job offer. He's gonna be working in one of the town's mansions as a maid. Yeah, so Rem teases him a little bit when she finds out, but ultimately Subaru's just happy that he finally has a real job. His first day of work is in 2 days from now, so Rem tells him he better go to sleep early tomorrow. But tonight, the two of them can stay up as long as they want. Yeah, Rem likes making little sex jokes, but the best part about it is actually that she isn't joking at all. 2 days later, Subaru starts his first day of work and immediately gets harassed by all the other maids, which are mostly middle-aged women. Subaru eventually complains to the mansion owner that his ass has been smacked close to 1,000 times, but the mansion owner tells him it's probably just because he has a nice ass. And that's how the first chapter ends.
Hey man, I'm sorry you got touched. We just got a nice booty. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Chapter 2,
you know,
3 months.
I've been looking at it myself.
After a while, Subaru started getting used to his new job. Eventually, the sexual harassment started to die down too, and Subaru was recognized as a hard worker by the other employees. One day, Rem surprise visited Subaru at the mansion while he was working, and afterwards she waited for him outside so that the two of them could walk home together. Kararagi was beautiful at night, and Rem looked gorgeous with the moonlight reflecting off her kimono. But about halfway through their walk, the world itself suddenly fell unnaturally silent. At the same time, Rem and Subaru both realized that something was wrong. Subaru held his breath as he looked across the street and saw a black shadow standing there. It was a bit taller than Rem, but shorter than Subaru, and he could tell by its figure that it was a thin, delicate woman. Her hair was white, but her clothes were as black as the night sky. It was rather common to see prostitutes at night in Kararagi, but something about this woman was different. There was something about her that gave Subaru a sense of dread. Her glowing eyes suggested that she was something other than human, like she had the body of a person, but was instead something much more repulsive. As Subaru looks at the woman's eyes, he feels a sense of violence and hostility directed towards him, and then realizes he can't move at all. Frozen in fear, he forgets how to breathe and starts losing consciousness. The overwhelming presence increased its pressure to the point that it practically burnt Subaru's skin, and the atmosphere was filled with a strong sense of murderous intent. But Subaru just stood there, frozen. It was as if all the courage was drained from his soul. There was nothing he could do besides hope that Rem would protect him.
This took a turn really fast.
The woman says, as an invisible gust of wind flies towards the unmoving Subaru. Rem grabs him and jumps away from the attack, which vaporizes the area he was standing in.
I wonder if this is Zarestia.
Rem was still a competent fighter, but she was no match for this opponent, especially with Subaru in her arms. Also, the kimono she wore limited her agility quite a bit, so she knew she wouldn't be able to keep dodging the wind attacks for much longer. The white-haired woman continues repeating the word die over and over while blasting deadly gusts of wind at Subaru. Strangely enough, she wasn't aiming for Rem at all. If Subaru could just dodge the attacks on his own, Rem could possibly try to fight the woman or at least distract her for long enough for Subaru to escape, but Subaru couldn't move, so Rem had no choice but to carry him. However, there was nowhere for them to run, so Rem understood that they would both soon be dead. She decides that she's gonna sacrifice herself first, because that way Subaru could at least survive a couple seconds longer. It wasn't the happy ending she wanted, but it was all she could do. But the gust of wind that was meant to kill Rem was suddenly blocked by the sound of steel. "That's enough," Hannibal says, appearing out of nowhere. The powerful wind attack was reduced to nothing by just a small knife being thrown by Hannibal. Subaru was shocked after seeing what just happened. Remember, he thought Hannibal was just a normal guy before
Hannibal's
this.
dope.
He also
He's
couldn't
dope.
comprehend why Hannibal was even saving them in the first place. Anyway, Hannibal casually starts walking towards the woman, effortlessly blocking her attacks while she continues repeating the word "die." Eventually, Hannibal asks her the question, "Which me would you like to be killed by?" and then splits into 4 different clones of himself. Each Hannibal clone starts making jokes and basically just acting like the original. But the cool part about this ability is that these aren't fakes or decoys or anything. They're actually identical copies of the real Hannibal. So he didn't divide his body into fourths, but instead he literally became 4 people. So basically, Hannibal's power just quadrupled. Seeing this, the woman jumps to the roof of the building next to her, trying to retreat. 3 of the Hannibals throw knives at her, and she manages to block 2 of them, but the 3rd pierces through her thin back. She lets out a slight groan and then disappears off into the darkness. Hannibal appeared to be satisfied with the outcome when suddenly Rem collapses into Subaru's arms. She was unconscious, but still breathing. Still, Subaru was worried that she might have been cursed or something, so he carries her back to the apartment while Hannibal searches the town for a healer. Eventually, Subaru arrives at the apartment with Rem in his arms. "It's all my fault," he thinks to himself as he waits helplessly, begging Rem's unconscious body to wake up. After a couple minutes go by, the door opens, except it isn't Hannibal. In walks the same white-haired woman from before, except this time the evil, murderous aura wasn't there and the woman wore a white kimono instead of a black one. Subaru looks at her and stiffens up when he realizes who she is.
Who drew this is pretty
"Hello?
dope.
What's wrong with you? Why are you ignoring me?" the woman says. She didn't seem nearly as dangerous as before,
She
but
a witch?
Subaru knew he had to protect Rem, so he grabs a bucket of water and throws it on the woman. He knew he couldn't damage her on his own, so his plan was to just distract her until Hannibal arrived. Subaru charges at the woman, trying to grab her around the waist and use one of his wrestling moves, but she blocks him and knocks him to the floor, telling him, "Just because I'm cute doesn't mean you get to hug me." Subaru's not giving up yet, though.
Hell?
Again and again, he gets up and charges at the woman, who continues knocking him to the floor until eventually his face is broken and his entire body's covered in blood. He knew what death felt like, so he could tell he was getting closer and closer. Regardless, he couldn't let her kill Rem no matter what. After the woman throws him across the room one last time, Subaru is finally too weak to get back up. But the woman doesn't kill Rem. She takes a good look at her and then just leaves without doing anything. She lets Subaru survive as well. In fact, she never actually attacked him. All she really did was defend herself from Subaru's attacks. It was quite odd because earlier that night, she didn't show any mercy whatsoever. Subaru passes out and wakes up a while later. Hannibal's there now with a healer who's currently healing Subaru. Subaru immediately asks him about Rem. Is it a curse? Is she gonna die? What's wrong with her? Etc, etc. The healer replies by telling Subaru he's got good news and better news. The good news is that Rem isn't cursed or anything like that. She just passed out from exhaustion, so she'll be awake whenever her body's gotten enough rest. That was the good news. Now, as for the better news, all he says is the word, congratulations. At first, Subaru didn't understand, so the healer makes it a bit more clear for him. Subaru, your wife is 3 months pregnant with your child. Subaru's eyes open wide. Pregnant? Rem's pregnant? This new information was so overwhelming that Subaru couldn't think properly. Hannibal tells him that he's got something important to ask him, but now is obviously not the right time. Right now, the most important thing is for Subaru to spend time with his pregnant wife and to make sure that he's the first thing she sees when she wakes up. Hannibal tells Subaru that he'll talk with him tomorrow morning and then exits the room shortly after. The healer follows him out, leaving the married couple alone together. After a couple hours pass, Rem nervously opens her eyes and says Subaru's name.
Aw.
Subaru gives her a brief summary of the previous night's events, answers all her questions, and then informs her that she's pregnant with his child. Rem was obviously quite surprised, but Subaru restates it again in greater detail just to reiterate. Rem was basically in shock, but she manages to ask Subaru what he thought about it. Maybe Subaru's unhappy about it, is what she was thinking. But Subaru corrects her, explaining that it makes him extremely happy that she's pregnant. He hugs her and tells her thank you, over and over. This causes Rem to start crying, which causes Subaru to start crying, and then the happy married couple hold on to each other, sharing their joy with one another. Rem tells Subaru she loves him, and the chapter ends.
That's fresh. If only the story kind of ended there.
Now, the next chapter has the same title as this one, so if you didn't get it, the chapter titles are a reference to how long Rem has been pregnant. So between chapters 1 and 2, there was a 1-month time skip, and it looks like chapter 3 continues right where we left off, so we'll probably get to hear what Hannibal wanted to talk to Subaru about, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about this mystery bitch. She appeared twice in the same night, except her outfit, her aura, and her personality were different. The first time we saw her, she didn't say anything except die, but the second time she's almost got the attitude of a tsundere and she wasn't even trying to kill anyone. So what's going on here? Are there twin sisters? Are they split personalities? Maybe she's just bipolar? Let me know what you guys think is going on. Also, I've probably made it a bit obvious by now, but let me know if you know who she is. All theories are welcome in the comments section below. Overall, I thought the first chapter was kinda boring, but the second chapter definitely made up for it with some action that I totally didn't expect.
So much better than the
I think Hannibal's ability is really cool, and I'm glad we got to see that, and I was also surprised with the amount of information we got from this first chapter. Pretty much all the information we have about Kararagi came from this If story. So even if you're not a fan of Hannibal or the white-haired girl, you gotta give this story some credit for what it does right. I hope you guys enjoyed part 1 of this If story. Remember to give the video a like if you want to see the series continue, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified when part 2 comes out. And as always, guys, I do have to cut certain details from these stories simply due to time restrictions, so the only way to get the full experience would be to actually read it yourself. I highly recommend you do so. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Keep talking about ReZero. I hope you're all enjoying Season 2, but I'm out for now, so peace.
All right, yeah, obviously this a little while ago because it's Season 2. Season 3 is the most recent one that's out. Season 4 coming out next year, I think. Soonish. But yeah, honestly, that was really dope. I like how the chapter 2 definitely popped off. I do have one question with one thing, like from the prologue to the first chapter. He said it was a time skip, but we don't know how long. I don't think. I might have missed that. I'm pretty sure he didn't say how long that time skip was. But that meant, like, I was wondering, like, how many times has Subaru died within that time period? You know what I mean? Because they didn't really say how many deaths he's had. Because I just didn't hear. I didn't hear really that, or like again how long it's been in total from when they got to Kararagi. But that was interesting. Yeah, that makes me way more interested. I think that I'm not sure who the girl is that's changing. She reminds me of the one crazy girl from Dragon Ball that I think it was Yamcha used to date, the one that had blonde hair and would swap to somebody completely new with the blue hair when she sneezed, and the blonde one was crazy and had a Tommy gun. That's what it kind of reminds me of. She's probably, I don't know, she could be a witch, maybe. I might be right about that, but she reminds me of that. And the way that she acted differently, I think it's based on time of day. That's off the top of my head. I think it's based on time of day. That's just because of when the changes in her happened. Like, I mean, she attacked at night, but she was like, "Oh, what? How you can't just get a hug in the daytime?" Interesting. All right, yeah. You know, we're going to continue this. We're part 2 becoming soonish. When? I'm not 100% sure, but it will be on this way. Otherwise, I appreciate y'all. You guys stay freaking classy, stay awesome, stay clean, stay dope. Give your family a hug. I'm gonna see you on the next one. All right. Deuces.